And our first craft is going to be just in around Kerbin to collect some science. So the contract I'm looking at, let's take a look at, there we go, there's all our contracts, is the one I just picked up here. Gather space science. Let's push the right button. There it is. Gather some science from space around Kerbin. So transmitter requires scientific data from space around Kerbin. This will be a nice, easy one to get us sort of started. And if I open up Kerbalism's little science tab here, I've collected a reasonable amount of science from space around Kerbin, but there's two experiments I've not collected much from. One of them is called the MITE experiment. Sometimes this gets messed up for some. There we go. And you can see I've collected a lot of low space stuff using the MITE experiment that comes from Kerbalism, but I've not, can I make this a little bigger? I cannot. But I have not collected any high space stuff. The thing to notice here is that the high space stuff is not biome specific, but a requirement, it's always easy to miss this stuff, is that we have to have a minimum inclination of 70 degrees and a maximum inclination of 120. Basically just says we have to be in a polar orbit for this one. So I want to put a satellite in a polar orbit about Kerbin in high space, so over an altitude of 250 kilometers, collect the high space science that's available. And also there's a light experiment. I've collected some stuff around the moon, but I've not collected any. Oh, I have collected the light. No, it's not the light. I'm sorry. My error. The SITE experiment. They all have similar names. The SITE experiment, again, I got low space, but not high space for the SITE experiment above Kerbin. The thing to notice over here is that once we go into high space, we are biome specific. So what I'm going to do is still go with the polar orbit. This will be good. We'll be being in a polar orbit means that as Kerbin rotates, you'll eventually get over every single biome. And we'll be able to collect both of these with the same bit of science equipment. So let's put this aside. Let's get our best probe core to date, which is the HECS. We're going to configure the unmanned experiments. So we need to have the SITE experiment and the MITE experiment. There's the MITE and there's the SITE. And these again are butchered acronyms. So just to start, this is the magnosity, I can't even say that, ionospheric transmissive evaluation, measures the strength of magnetic fields in the ionosphere. And the SITE experiment is the Survey Interplanetary Trash Experiment, which measures dust through the vacuum. Very nice. All right, let's get started with what we need to add on to all of this kind of stuff. So, first of all, let's think about data. Really not, I usually don't put too much thought into how much data these generate, but you can actually work it out. So for instance, let's take the experiment that's going to take the least amount of time, this one here. Notice that this experiment takes 12 minutes and 35 seconds. The SITE experiment takes an hour. So for 12 minutes and 35 seconds, we're going to be, let me get in the right one, both of those experiments are going to be running. And you can actually calculate how much data this is going to generate. Let's see here. It says here that this generates 4.32 kilobytes per second. And then if we go to the SITE experiment, it generates 3.4 kilobytes per second. So you can simply add those two together. At the same time, you're going to be transmitting that. We're going to put a single communitron on this. And if I go to where the communitron 16 is, come on, stay there. There we go. It transmits the data at 2.2 kilobytes per second. So the thing to notice is that it transmits slower than the data in which it that it adds up. I hope that makes sense. It's collecting data faster than it can transmit it. There we go. And you can calculate the rate by simply adding up the 3.4 we had here, what was the other number that I had there, 4.32 that we had before, and subtracting off our transmission rate. And we can see that for the first 12 minutes and 35 seconds, you're going to be collecting data at a rate of 5.52 kilobytes per second. You can actually work this out. And 12 minutes and 35 seconds is 755 seconds. I have worked this out ahead of time. Don't think for a moment I'm doing this in my head. So if you take the 755 seconds, multiply it by the 5.52 kilobytes per second, you get that you're going to accumulate 4.17 megabytes of data over that 12.35 minutes before this MITE experiment is done. Right? So you need to make sure you can store that amount. So we can up the capacity here. Right now our hard drive can hold, like, at the beginning it's 2. I'm going to put it up to 8 because I also realize that I'm likely to, if I did the same experiment with, or the same sort of calculation with the site, which takes an hour, and so it's going to be going for a while still after that. That's going to be about another 8 or so megabytes of data. So it's going to be actually more than what's here. So what I decided to do, what I'm going to do is actually really put on a lot of storage space. So there's 8 megabytes going to be stored in that one. 8 megabytes stored in that one. We don't need any more experiments, so I'm going to configure these experiments and turn them to none. There we go. So by using 2 probe cores, I can store 16 megabytes of data. That should be enough for our data storage needs. So I used to just not pay too much attention to data storage, and I've been burned by it a couple of times. I think it's worthwhile to sort of do that really quick calculation. Okay, other stuff, well, electric charge, I figured I only needed about 210 units of electric charge. So far we already have 200 here. So what I'm just going to do is take some, yeah, I'm going to put these guys on. We'll put 6 of them on. That gives us 800 units of oh, that's too much. Let's not go berserk. Let's just stick one of these underneath. There we go. That's 400 units of electric charge. That should be plenty in dealing with the night side and all of that kind of stuff. I also figured out I need 210 units of electrical generation, so I'm going to get that one by simply putting on 6 ONSAT solar panels. That again should be plenty. And for transmission, we're going to put on a single Communitron like that. There we go. So that should take care of electrical generation, data storage, and transmission and electrical storage. It should be over the top on all of those things. Let's just go into this probe. I'm going to do one more thing. Let's take this window away. I don't need it. You can actually start the experiments ahead of time. That's nice, so that it'll be waiting, and then you don't have to remember to start them later. They'll just turn on when there's some data for them to collect. Okay, I figured out that this fella needs about 300 meters per second of delta V. So let's go over to our tanks, and let's arrange them by mass. There's our smallest one, the Oscar A, coming from Restock. Nice. Let's kind of get away with putting a tiny little ant engine on the bottom of that. Put engineer on compact. That's 426 meters per second of delta V. That's already more than I need. 345 again. My budget's about 300. That should be plenty. Thrust to weight is 0.6. That should be fine as well. So this is starting to look a bit like a thing. Okay, next we got to build ourselves a booster, and for the booster, it's going to go into a polar orbit, which takes more delta V. I'm going to budget in and around 3,800 meters per second of delta V. So we're going to need a little bit more. Just taking a look here at the chat as well. Yeah, when I was working out all this electricity and data storage, Mr. Nico, I was already thinking about time spent in the night and all that kind of stuff. That's all kind of factored into it. Should hopefully be okay. Okay, let's take a look at the boosters I have. Boosters I have. This guy has a mass of only 341 kilograms, so that's a baby. We can just stick you under it. That is going to be absolutely nothing. That's probably all. That's going to be through the roof just like that. So we'll stick with this booster. I can see I need a fairing, so I'm going to just switch up the decoupler here a bit. Put on the TS06 decoupler. That's the 0.65. The 0.625 meter decoupler. I have a fairing. Oh, how about we retract this antenna? In fact, why don't I, while I'm thinking about it, put that antenna onto an action group. There we go. Actually, and keep checking, do I have lights? I still don't have lights. That's something to think about for the future. Okay. Anyway, one thing at a time. Let's build this fairing. About there. About there. I'm going to put this on clamshell. Put it on to, whoa, that's 4 sides. And up the ejection force a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit nicer. There we are. It's looking like 3,954 meters per second of delta V. Now, one thing I was actually thinking about after I built this is I've been using these service bays really as just a place to stow stuff. I mean, that's what they're for. In this case, just some small reaction wheels to help with the stability of it. But the service bay, if I go to payload, has a mass of 100 kilograms. The fairing, oh, I guess it's not. I guess an alternate way to do it, I just want to play around with this idea. Here, let's take these two out. An alternate way that I think might be nice is to put a fairing in here. I'll show you where I'm going with this. Let's make this the root part for a moment. I just want to see if this looks a little bit better. Turn on the truss structure and the interstage nodes. And now I can put the reaction wheels in there. Like that. And I can build this fairing like that, so it's like kind of like just like a cowling. And then you can also turn off the staging. There's a fairing stage button, so it can't be staged. You can actually turn off the expansion bit too. There we go. So now it's like, I think that's a little bit, you know, we can make it dark. Oh, that looks funny. That looks alright. I don't know. That's an alternate way than using the service bay. It's kind of, I think it looks alright. We might go with that. Still a ton of delta V, right? Yeah, 3,000. The staging is complete kerschmussel here. Let's fix this all up. Alright, Y is compact again. Oh, because of the root part. Let's put the root part back where it's supposed to be. There. Now this makes sense. Actually, I think I've lost a little bit of delta V doing that. I'm not sure that was the better way to go. Not sure that was the better way to go. Can I make these dark? Nope. Oh yes, there's a dark variant. Oh, that's nice. I can sometimes spend way too much time fiddling around. This is now, what am I up to, by the way? Open up. Here, just, I'm up to the HECS 6. So this is the HECS 6. Save that. Yep. Okay, let's look at delta V. Oh, this just needs to get turned down just a little bit. Perfect. Oh, way to make this fairing fit a little bit more cozily. Yeah, I could have not used the interstage. No, I think that's what you're meaning, and then just had the fairing between the two. Yeah, that would work. I'm just noticing this little ugly bit here. Let's see if we can edit this fairing, make it look a little nicer. I don't know if there's a way to get rid of that sort of cross-hatching that's happening there. I'm pretty happy with this. All right, so yeah, we're going to be doing the relays in the next one, and it's going to be 3 of them at the same time. But for now, this is going to be just a science satellite in a polar orbit about Kerbin. Let's give her a test, make sure this flies okay. So I'm going to use the KRASH Simulator. We'll start this from the launch pad. You think the service bay has better aerodynamics? You might be right. You might be right. Mr. Nico says that the service bay has better aerodynamics. I thought this might, well, it's, I don't know, might be personal preference. It should work either way. Let's just do this. So we'll throttle up. Here, we'll put this on here, and we shall punch this. And again, the goal here is a polar orbit. So I'm going to head towards the south. You could head towards the south or head towards the north. It really doesn't matter. More kind of a personal preference sort of a deal. We're going to lock that onto the prograde vector right about there. That is not south. This way, oh my gosh. What am I? No, that is south. What am I? I'm going right. Oh my god, I don't know my own directions. I thought I was going. It's cool. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Locked at the prograde. For a second, I thought I was going west. I got all my directions mixed up. And I can tell I'm way too far to the west. Let's see if we can pull this. Pull this. Oh, and we're going up very steeply. Try and do a better job. Here, just let this go. Watch our inclination climb here. We're at about 45 degrees inclination so far. And start reducing that throttle. Yeah, coming up too steep. I don't know what got into my head there, but if it is able to insert itself with this crappy ascent, then I know that it's going to be fine. Yeah, sorry, there was no stream Thursday last week, but there will be one Thursday this week. We are now 2 times a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Put that back on surface. I think it was better that way. All right. Apoapsis is almost at 80 kilometers, at which point I'm going to cut it. Here we go. Inclination is 89.4. It's not like it came out badly. Okay, let's see. Let's just time warp up the apoapsis. I still have close to 1700 meters per second left in the vehicle. So all I got to do to see whether I can... Okay, there we go. So about 1700 meters per second left, 500 here, 17 and 500 is 22. Ooh, it's a little close. Well, I'll have to make sure to do a better ascent. Let's terminate this simulation. I think I can do it, but I just have to ascend better. It wasn't very efficient. All right. We'll be talking about relays with the next mission there, Gilly Assassin. Let's just launch and do it. Okay, so this one is for real, not a simulation, so if things go badly, things go badly. Let's put this here. All right, and we do have a mission, right? Yeah, we do have a mission to collect science, so let's get our contract for that. Okay, let's go. And I'm going to try and do a better ascent this time. Better than last time. So I like to get it about 50 meters per second, and then we'll start knocking it over and then locking that onto the prograde vector, seeing where that ends up. There we go. I think that's a little better. So right now I'm just letting it ride on that prograde vector. Actually, I think I kind of like the way in which it's fallen over. I'm pretty happy with that. Might just stop it just a little bit because it's falling over a little quickly. Back on the prograde, lock it again. Back on prograde again. I certainly don't want it to be flipping out. There we go. Keep that on prograde. How's our inclination doing? Inclination's climbing quickly, almost at 80 degrees. Okay, let's start reducing throttle. I noticed my apoapsis was getting close to being a minute ahead, so we'll cut the throttle down so it'll just sort of coast here a little bit. How's our inclination doing? 88, 89 degrees. Can probably stick this onto orbit pretty soon. Yeah, let's put that in orbit. Just stay on that south line now. And then we'll just watch our apoapsis, let this ride on up. Apoapsis a little over 40 kilometers. All right. I think this is a little better than last time. Oh, actually, I should let this apoapsis keep building right up to a little over 250 kilometers because that's our final altitude. I think it's a little better to just keep going. So we'll let this go to maybe about 260 or so. Remember, we want to get into high space with all of our equipment. Inclination is 88 degrees. That's fine. All right. You know, I never did test the staging of the fairing. Let's find out if that's going to be okay. Oh, yeah. No problem. Just past 70 kilometers on apoapsis. And again, I'm just going to let this just keep riding up. 80 kilometers on the apoapsis. Let the apoapsis build to about 250, a little over 250. And we'll ride up and we'll circularize, and that's it. This thing will be inserted and should be collecting science for us. Okay, apoapsis is increasing quickly now. Let's reduce throttle even more. 200 kilometers. 50, 60, good. All right, there we go. Okay. And again, with Kerbalism, there is limited ignitions. Only got 4 ignitions left on that engine. 232 meters per second left, but of course there's still the probe itself. All right, let's get up there. Whoops, I hit map view. I didn't mean to do that. Let's get up to our apoapsis. Should really be watching this. There we are. See Kerb in there rotating below us. There's our southern ice shelf. Let that find the prograde vector again. I could have launched this, I'm just realizing, at dawn or dusk, and then it would have been in the sunlight for the whole time. That would have been smart, but it should be fine either way, so I'm not really too worried about it. Okay, let's get ourselves a little bit closer to our apoapsis, and we'll just do our circularization. We're going to be losing the booster pretty soon into this, I think. That's okay. Okay, let's start throttling up. Throttling down. I don't want to start and restart this too much because it can... oh, wow, we're going to be there. We're there. That did not take much. I didn't even get into the probe. Oh, my gosh. That's funny. I should have actually... Here, let's do ourselves a little bit of a favor here. We'll get rid of this debris. So there's still a lot. I got my orbit that I need, but what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to burn retrograde. I might not be able to get this really down very far. No. Okay. Whatever. Okay, now we'll go prograde. I was hoping to maybe get rid of this booster, but it ain't going to happen. Our periapsis is 216. Let's do this. And again, get that periapsis back up. I'm not sure that accomplished much, but whatever. Okay, periapsis is over 250, so we're in high space all the way around. We'll position this one for the solar panels. Whoa, lots. I should disable these reaction wheels. There. That's not what I wanted to do. Toggle torque, that's what I wanted to do. It's just too much torque control. It's really jerky. There we go. And this should be now collecting all sorts of data for me. The MITE experiment, the site experiment are both running, and this should be just fine. This should just run like this. So I think what I'll do is just let this run in the background.